I would like to speak to you about a very controversial topic that has really become a very large and important topic for all professional sports and its athletes. That topic is, should professional athletes have to take drug tests? You can see how this affects all of the athletes of professional sports. Many professional sports agencies already have drug testing in place within their organizations to deter and detect the use of street drugs like marijuana and cocaine, and also performance enhancing drugs like steroids, stimulants, blood boosters, blood doping, human growth hormone, and many more drugs that will enable the athlete to perform better. Here's a picture showing many of the different performance enhancing drugs. The street drugs are illegal by all means, and the performance enhancing drugs are a form of cheating and are themselves illegal unless certain ones are doctor prescribed. I think that professional athletes should have to take drug tests. Drug testing should be implemented into all professional sports because professional athletes are held to a higher standard because they are professionals. Therefore, they should conduct themselves in a professional manner, have really good sportsmanship, and they shouldn't be cheating by taking performance enhancing drugs. If they are caught, there should be consequences. This is exactly why many professional sports associations have drug testing in place already. These sports organizations include the National Football League, the NFL, the National Hockey League, the NHL, Major League Baseball, or MLB, and even the Olympics. Doping, or the taking of performance enhancing drugs, has been an acknowledged fact since the 1960s. Street drugs are usually not the problem or reason for these sports associations drug testing their athletes. These athletes, who are at their best, but it's not good enough, turn to doping or taking performance enhancing drugs to make them better. When an athlete of any kind takes performance enhancing drugs, they are nothing more than a cheat and a liar. Professional sports are taken very serious, which is why athletes train as hard as they can to push the limits of human ability. Once these athletes reach their physical peak, they are going to want more out of themselves. If they can't get this through training and working, they may subject to the use of performance enhancing drugs to gain an edge. The use of performance enhancing drugs can affect the best athletes who need just a little more edge to go superstar, all the way down to the fourth stringer trying to gain an edge just to play. No matter how you look at it, any professional athlete that takes and uses performance enhancing drugs should be held liable to certain charges set in place by that particular sports association. The National Football League has a disciplinary list based on the number of times you have tested positive for any performance enhancing drug. The first offense, you are subject to a 4-game suspension without pay. Your second offense is an 8-game suspension and the loss of your entire salary. The third time you're caught, you're out for 12 games and still no salary. The National Basketball Association has a similar policy that states your first offense is a 5-game suspension and a mandatory enrollment and participation in the league's anti-doping program. Second offense is a 10-game suspension with continued counseling. Third time is a 25-game suspension with counseling. And then your fourth, you are out for at least 2 years. The NHL has a more aggressive policy to stop doping. Your first offense is 20 games out and no pay. The second is 60 games out and no pay. The third and final time is a lifetime ban from the National Hockey League. The Olympics has the highest anti-doping penalties you can get. 2 chances. The first time you're caught, you get banned from all the Olympic events for 2 years. And then if you are caught again, you can never participate in another Olympic event for the rest of your life. The Summer Olympics sees more athletes who partake in doping compared to the Winter Olympics. I want you to look at this chart that shows the number of tested Olympians and positively tested Olympians for the Summer Olympics. Another 15 Olympians tested positive in the 2012 London Summer Olympics. These regulations set in place will alone reduce the number of people tempted to start doping in the first place. But the problem is, they don't stop athletes from taking performance enhancing drugs. I feel these anti doping regulations and disciplines should all be similar to the high standards that the Olympics use. It would have a much bigger psychological effect compared to some of the smaller infractions that are implemented. Many professional sports are looking into implementing drug testing for their athletes, like the Professional Golf Association, or PGA, is implementing drug testing for their tournaments. Even though it might not be a lot, it's more than nothing at all. In 1999, the International Olympic Committee, or IOC, started the World Anti-Doping Agency, or WADA. And then in 2000, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, or USADA, was founded. Both of these agencies have one main goal, and it is to eliminate the use of performance-enhancing drugs in sports. A lot of research is done by these two organizations into the drug tests that are administered to athletes to test for the specific drugs, whether it's urine testing or blood testing. However, there is a big problem for whoever is testing for these banned substances, and they are masking drugs. These drugs are taken on top of the performance-enhancing drugs to hide that they are there, and you won't test positive in a drug test. You can see how this could be a problem. A common masking drug is epitestosterone, which restores your testosterone to normal levels before testing so it looks like you're not blood doping. Another problem is that some athletes who have become big sports stars have a large amount of money, which allows them to be ahead of the testing game by investing money on their doping scandal to hide it and keep them up at the top. There are two very big names in professional sports that show up for doping scandals, and they are one, Barry Bonds, who was a Major League Baseball player for many years and was caught using steroids, and then the second is Lance Armstrong, who admitted to doping since long before his first Tour de France win. Lance was stripped of his 7 Tour de France wins. And when you look back at the Tour de France winners, it is full of cyclists who were caught doping. Look at this chart showing the Tour winners. The ones in red are convicted of doping. Since the year 1980, there have been 33 tours, with 17 of them having winners convicted of doping. That's over half of them. So you can see that doping is a big problem in professional sports all over the world. So I do feel that professional athletes should be subject to drug testing. Stopping professional athletes from doping makes the sports fair and victors triumph due to human ability and endurance, not steroids and blood doping.